Chapter 13, In the Hospital. All that morning my head went round and round. It was all impossible. I took a notebook and wrote some questions in it. I still have that notebook with me. Sometimes when I start feeling very proud of myself, I read it. Question 1. Did Raphael kill someone? Is that why he went mad? His mother thought he did. She saw him covered in blood. But who did he kill? Not the soldier. He left the cafe when Raphael was still in it with my uncle. Not Anita. She was with her sister until the music started in the cafe. And Raphael was inside the cafe then. So who? Impossible. Question 2. Was the soldier killed, or did he only go away? If he was killed, who killed him? Not Raphael. He was in the cafe until midnight. Not Anita. She was a child and loved him. Who could kill him? He was a strong young man, a soldier, and he was friendly with everyone in the village. Impossible. Question 3. Did Anita run away with the soldier, or was she killed too? If she was killed, who killed her? Not Raphael. He loved her, and he was in the cafe all evening. Perhaps the soldier, and he then ran away? But why? He loved her and wanted to marry her. And if the soldier killed her, why did Raphael go mad? Impossible. I read all my notes and questions again and again. Everything seemed impossible. Suddenly, I looked at them again. There was someone in the village who was big enough and strong enough, someone who could kill the soldier. He had a good reason to kill him. There was someone who had a good reason to kill Anita too. Perhaps he saw her leaving the house with her bag that night. Perhaps he followed her along the dark and empty beach, quietly through the soft sand. Perhaps he saw her meet the soldier. Perhaps he killed both of them and put their dead bodies deep in the sea. There was another man who loved Anita, and that man could kill her for running away. He was big enough and strong enough to kill the soldier. That man was Rodrigo, her father. But then the wrong man was mad. I am a doctor, not a policeman or a detective. I believed I was a clever man, more intelligent than the people of the village. I was too proud of myself. I told my uncle and all the people of the village about my plans to help poor Raphael. I, the great doctor from the university in the city, could make him well again. I was too proud. I spent a week in the village and I talked to a lot of people, but I still knew nothing about Raphael's madness. I still had no idea what happened to the soldier or Anita. I couldn't be sure that Rodrigo killed them. It was a stupid idea. I didn't really believe it. I promised Rosa and Marta to tell nobody what they told me. It was our secret. I went back to the hospital to do my work. I wasn't so proud. I decided not to think about what happened in the village. It wasn't a good idea to try to change things. I heard nothing from my uncle or anyone in the village for almost a year. I often dreamt of Raphael and his gold ring when I was very tired, but I never went back to the village. I didn't want to meet those good people. I was sure they didn't have a good opinion of me. Then one day, a fisherman brought a note to the hospital. It was written by Rodrigo, the shopkeeper. It said, Rafael is very ill. We think he's dying. Please come immediately. Only you can help us. Please come. Remember my dear daughter Anita and poor mad Rafael and help us. Your uncle asked me to write this letter, but I want you to come too. Perhaps at last we can find out what really happened to my daughter all those many years ago. Rodrigo Garcia. I took a small ambulance from the hospital and went to the village. I was there in a few hours. I went straight to my uncle's house. Rafael was there lying on a bed. Rosa was putting cold, wet cloths on his head. Rafael was very thin and yellow. When I came into the room, he coughed like that, weakly. Blood ran from his mouth. Rosa washed away the blood with another cloth. It was already red with Rafael's blood. It's tuberculosis, I said immediately. He's very ill. Yes, I know, said my uncle. That's why I asked you to come. It's very bad. I don't think there's any hope for him. I'll take him to the hospital, I said. I've got an ambulance with me. With medicines and nursing, perhaps we can still save him. But there's not much hope for him. He's very weak. We put Rafael in the ambulance and I took him back to the hospital in the city. He was almost dead. We washed him and cut his hair and beard. We put him in a clean bed and gave him medicines. I sat by his bed for 8 hours. He didn't move. He lay like a dead man. His body temperature was very high. Then very slowly it began to fall, and he fell into a quiet sleep. 2 days later, he opened his eyes. He was still having medicines, and he was very weak. He lay without moving. Only his eyes moved. He looked round the strange white walls at the plastic bottle above his head. He looked at me in my white coat at his side. Am I dead? He asked very quietly. No, Rafael, you're in hospital. I'm a doctor. Miguel, the owner of the cafe in your village, is my uncle. Don't be afraid. We're trying to make you well again. His mouth moved in a tired smile and he fell asleep again. I brought a nurse to sit by his bed. Tell me if he wakes up or if he gets worse, I said. Then I went to my room in the hospital and fell on the bed. I was asleep in a few seconds. There was little hope for poor Rafael. He was thin and weak after all the years that he lived on the beach. For years he ate very little. He slept on the cold, hard ground. The tuberculosis was very bad. He was very, very ill. But he wasn't mad. He could speak very little. Most of the time he was very tired, but when he spoke to me, his words were clear and calm. He lived for 6 days in the hospital. He slept, he woke, and when he was awake, he talked to me. Coughing blood, he told me everything. Then on the 6th day, he fell quietly asleep, and after a few hours, his heart stopped and he was dead. After his long years of pain and madness, I was happy that his death was quiet and easy at the end. He did a terrible thing, a terrible crime, but he paid for it with long years of madness. I have written his story down here. One day, perhaps, people will read it, but not until all the people in it are dead. Until that day, it must stay a secret.